We got the best of the best. Joining me now, John Carney, Breitbart economics and finance editor and co-author of Breitbart Business Digest, and the great Steve Forbes, Forbes Media chairman, editor-in-chief, and author of the excellent book, Inflation. I want to talk about the economy and Fed and all that stuff, inflation. Steve Forbes, though, I go to you. I appeal to your reasonableness. This is an unbelievable story, taking over the car business and putting an end to the fossil fuel business.
Well, you summed it up aptly. Everything
Thanks.
about it. Everything about it. And they're not dreamers. They're nightmares. They're out to destroy this country, destroy the economy, take us back to the cave days. They'll live well, but the rest of us are going to be impoverished. The world will be impoverished. China will control the world. Is that the kind of world we want? And so I think this is going to be beaten in the courts. I think the Republicans have to really get ginned up, combine this with those crazy IRS agents they're about to loose on the American people, and say no funding. And by golly, if that means shutting down the government, so what? We're here to save America, not to bail out Joe Biden's insane spending programs.
You know, we always said
this is socialism.
No.
This is socialism. They're taking over, as you pointed out, one of the largest industries in the world. And where did Congress come into this?
Well, that's the thing. You've always said it's modern socialism through the regulatory state. But actually, in this case, they're taking over one industry and trying to shut down another. It's not just regulate. They are literally going to have command and control authority over the car business.
And it
John
doesn't
Carney.
really do anything to clean up the environment because, as you said, the power to run the electricity still has to come from somewhere.
Right.
My colleague, Rebecca Mansour, wrote a great article in which she said they're not eliminating pollution, they're just extending the tailpipe for miles. And that's what's happening here.
Right.
They're
That's a
still
great
going
point.
to be generating as much pollution. It's just coming from the electricity. The other thing is, yes, we can't get our hands on all of these high-tech minerals that we need, everything we need for the batteries. We can't even get enough copper, one of the most primitive metals that we've ever had, to run through these vehicles. An electric vehicle takes far more copper than a traditional vehicle, and we don't have we're not mining anywhere in the world enough copper to come up with.
You know, we got to get Mark Mills from the Manhattan Institute back on the show. He's a terrific guy. He's written extensively about this. And by the way, how these commodity prices, because they're in such short supply, are going to explode and make everything even more expensive. So that's a terrific thing. Will you email me what that gal wrote, the Breitbart lady?
Rebecca Mansour, I'll absolutely
love to
send
see
it
it.
to you.
Maybe
Yes.
get her on the show too. Steve Forbes, is inflation over? Is it conquered? That's what Wall Street is celebrating right now.
The answer is no, because part of inflation, it's not just monetary inflation, it's when you artificially raise prices by gumming up the economy. So the Federal Reserve can do what it wants, but the Biden administration doing the exact opposite of what Reagan did in the early 1980s, destroying productive capacity in this economy, making it harder to be creative, innovative, bring products to market, killing the new issue market and stock market. All of that makes a buoyant economy, they're gumming up. So in that sense, prices are going to be going up because stuff is going to be scarce. And on the monetary side, unfortunately, the Fed still believes you do it by trashing the economy instead of stabilizing the dollar. The gold price is going up for a reason. They think, oh, these guys are going to muck up again like they did in the 1970s.
Gold up big time, dollar down big time. Your other thought, though, you're referring to supply side inflation, basically. Is that fair?
Yeah, non-monetary inflation.
Now, what are they going to do on the demand side? Are they going to keep raising rates, John? Is it one and done? What's your reading of that? You have the CPI, PPI. PPI looked pretty low today. I mean, the CPI came in relatively modestly.
Yes.
What do you think?
So I think they have at least one more hike, and then I think they're going to pause. The market says they're going to cut. I don't see that happening. I also look at the PPI number today, and the market got very happy about the PPI number. Hooray! It sank 0.5%. The problem is a huge part of that was oil and gasoline.
Right.
And we know OPEC is trying to raise the price of oil and gasoline. And in fact, over the last month, that's all back in March. Over the last month, we've gained 20 cents on the gallon for gasoline. It's going to keep going up as we get into the summer driving season. So it's actually the disinflationary forces in PPI that are transitory. Those are going to go away, and we're going to end up with higher PPI. So I think the Fed wants to see several months of declining inflation numbers, and it's not going to get them because it's going to start to see the headlines creep back up.
Did I read? I don't pay attention to every single word written by the reporters on the Fed, but Did I read someplace somehow that the Federal Reserve Board staff, which is very powerful, is predicting a recession?
That's right. The Federal Board staff, we actually talked about this on the show when the Feds came out with their last group of projections, and they said they saw growth just being 0.4% this year. You and I talked about this because we said that has to be a projection of a recession happening this year. Because how do you get 0.4% if you're growing around 1 or 2% right now? You have to have a contraction later. Well, we just found out that, yes, the Fed staff told them at the last meeting, we think we're headed for a recession, a mild recession, but a recession that begins later this year and stretches into next year.
What do you think of that, Steve? Recession? Mild recession? Have we ever seen a mild recession? I mean,
when you lose a job, it's not mild.
That's exactly. I don't mean to laugh, but right.
No, but
people lose jobs. There's nothing mild about it.
It's so perverse. The Phillips curve, which we've discussed ad nauseum, the idea that you conquer inflation by increasing unemployment, still reigns, even though it's been disproven time and time again. I mean, talk about a lack of an education. All these PhDs, what did they study?
It came from the EPA.
By the way, Mark Mills, you mentioned.
Yes.
Little factoid he pointed out: you take a couple of wind farms, the plastics for those windmills exceed the entire supply of plastic straws in the world.
Oh my God. Steve Forbes, John Carney, I'm Kudlow.